Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. We've got an impromptu Q&A from the CEO in which he breaks down loads of details. Things like melee weapons, things like stats on helmets. What about capes? What about balance? Loads of topics are covered here. So I'm going to break all of this down. It's going to be a long one, so I grab a drink. Let's just get stuck into this because there's tons of information. But before we begin with that, take a look at this, because the reaction to the latest Warbond has been, well, it's been quite negative, to be honest, and it is justified, because when you start looking at the actual relative power levels of the weapons in the Warbond compared to what we've already got, well, they're quite lacking. So check this out. These are the comments on my video from earlier on in the day. And they're amazing. Just look at this. Devs being efficient and saving time by releasing weapons pre-nerfed. Hey, the new weapons came pre-nerfed for our convenience, and that was considerate of them. Dude, the tenderizer is literally a liberator with 10 rounds smaller magazine. What a joke. And I was like, hang on, is it? Well, yeah, it is. Look at this image. It compares the tenderizer to the liberator. Now, look at the stats. This is horrific. You got to remember, the tenderizer is meant to be a premium weapon in the Warbond. It's meant to make you want to spend money on the ability to unlock these weapons. And if it feels crap, then why would you do that? And in fact, in this Warbond, I honestly stand by what I said in the earlier video, where I think the SMG is pretty good, mainly because of its concussive stats, where it can basically, well, it concusses enemies, it can stun lock enemies, things like stalkers when they try and get you. You can just drill them with it. It's really, really good. It's super strong for that. But the tenderizer is terrible. The impact grenade is decent. I do like that. I'm having some fun playing with that, specifically against the bugs. But then the plasma weapon, oh, holy hell, that thing is horrid. It is actually garbage tier, that is. So, yeah. Anyway, how should they be balancing the weapons? Well, I'll say this to you guys. The tenderizer, I was hoping it would be a literal carbon copy of the weapon in Starship Troopers. I wanted to see like a massive cross-style muzzle flash coming out of the weapon. Almost like, I don't know how to explain this without making sound effects, but I wanted it to be like really powerful. I wanted it to be like a super powerful AR that was doing a ton of damage, but it's actually not. And in fact, it's basically the same as the Liberator, which is insane, because that's the weapon everyone gets at the start of the game. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Weapons get buffed, weapons get nerfed, but surely the weapons in the Warbond should actually be giving you a power fantasy, so you want to use them and therefore want to unlock them and therefore want to get the Warbond. And the question is, are they actually doing that right now? Well, it looks like they're probably not. Right then, let's move on to what the CEO has been saying. Now, there's a couple of tweets here, but mainly this is from Discord. So he went on an absolute avalanche, an absolute storm, and was answering tons of questions. It would be nice to get an official Q&A. Maybe they could host something on Reddit like an AMA. That'd be pretty cool. Anyway, let's break all of this down. And to begin with, let's start with balance, because it is a massively hot issue in the community. The Alexis guy, bringer of balance dev, will ruin this game so fast. And the CEO responds to this. He says, "Hey, Darkmoon, I've seen you post similar things several times now. I prefer not to speak about employees on an individual basis, so I won't." And that's completely fine. You know, a boss of a company should not be going around shit-talking individual employees. That's the way you end up with no employees, and it's the way you end up with no morale, and it's the way you end up with your company failing. So that would be insane if that ever happened. So obviously, that's what he's going to do. Anyway, he says this, "But I can say that we can do a better job of providing more exciting updates and balance changes." This is the thing. This is a running theme you will see through this. This game, or at least from the responses here from the CEO, this game is about an insane power fantasy of being a crazed, you know, sci-fi trooper on the front lines mowing down tons of enemies, right? That's what it is. So you want weapons that feel awesome when you do that. And I think we've all got that when we first picked up the game. But now when we're starting to see these newer weapons get added to the game, they're not actually translating that to the player. And I think they need to work more on that. And obviously the CEO agrees with that. Then over on Twitter, he gets asked this question. "Helldivers has just become unfun for me and a lot of my friends. I've put insane hours, rank 80. I don't know what to say. These past months of balance changes have made the game basically unplayable for me. Sad to see balance changes come over the priority of fun." And Johan responds with, "Hey, yeah, I think we've gone too far in some areas. We'll talk to the team about the approach to balance. It feels like every time someone finds something fun, the fun is removed." Now, this could be in reference to the Eruptor, which was removed. It was the balance dev basically said it was an exploit using it to detonate underneath the weak spot of a charger and cause the shrapnel to go into the, you know, the arse of it and destroy it. Now, that was fun. There are other examples, I'm sure, that we could come up with that were fun and that have been, you know, the fun's been taken away, the power's been removed, you know, and that's not great. Like I said, this game is straight up about a power fantasy of just mowing down hordes of enemies. So the weapons do need to feel fun. They cannot balance this game like it's a PvP game. It isn't. It's a PvE game. It almost doesn't matter in some respects how powerful or how weak weapons are. Well, I guess it doesn't matter how weak they are. But you're not using them against your team. You're using them against the enemy. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. But it is interesting to see what the CEO thinks here. So what about balance philosophy? Would you proceed with the balancing changes from a bottom-up perspective, making the underpowered and underused guns good again before nerfing the ones that are currently good? That's something I think most players would appreciate. The top-down nerfing has been quite diversive. Hey Null, I agree with this sentiment. I am to talk to the team next week about your guys' feedback on balancing. So, this is interesting, isn't it? Because I think what is going on is when you take power away from a weapon, it feels horrible. Now, some weapons will be OP. The railgun was OP to begin with, and then it got, well, rained in. I guess it didn't get railed in. So, yeah, that didn't feel great for the people using the railgun. But you got to remember back in those days, everyone was running the railgun because you just kind of had to, because we didn't really have any other options, or at least we hadn't worked out how to use the other weapons. But it is a sentiment that I can get behind. You cannot put a weapon into the game, leave it for an extended period of time, and then make changes to it that make it feel crap to use. Because they've done this repeatedly with weapons, and it doesn't feel great. So if you flip that on its head, weapons come into the game, and then you're looking to buff them. You could argue that's what's gone on with the current Warbond, and it's obviously a lot of the meme comments about the weapons coming pre-nerfed would make sense in that way, because that now they could go, you know what, we're going to buff the tenderizer, and suddenly it's going to be awesome, you know, and we're going to buff the plas weapon and all of that. Like, so they can do that. There is a way out of this, and maybe that's what they were going for with this Warbond. But it's still a little bit strange, isn't it? But I do agree with this sentiment, and the CEO agrees with it as well. Do you guys agree? Let me know in the comments below, because I know balance is a massive issue for everybody, basically. So what about design philosophy for the game in general? I established this design philosophy when making Helldivers 1 and Helldivers 2, that no particular enemy should be challenging when conditions are perfect and you have the right tools, but the disruption element of many foes at the same time will lead to problems. So Charger, no problem. Charger charging while a Stalker stuck upon you, big problem. And yeah, you do get that. Like, this is the sense of getting overwhelmed. This is the thing. You'll see Helldiver players talk about controlling the flow, and it's basically staying on top of what's going on, you know, whether that's making sure you're thinning out the Bile Titans, making sure you're getting rid of the Chargers, making sure you're destroying the Stalker nest fairly quickly, and things like that. Also, like when you come across a patrol and you need to engage it, killing it really fast so it doesn't spawn reinforcements. When you're trying to take over a point, whether it's for an objective or to just pick up some loot, you go in and effectively and efficiently kill everything before ads can spawn. These are just all sort of things that you need to do if you want to play Helldivers at the harder difficulties. But yeah, I think this is totally fine design philosophy, because a Charger is very easy to kill when you've got an Eat Rocket and it's running straight at you. But if you're getting knocked about by everything else, or you're getting attacked or pushed by a load of other mobs, or you're having to run in some sort of crazy zigzag pattern and you're diving all over the floor, then a charge comes in, yeah, there's a problem. So I think this is fine. Yeah, this is just what Helldivers is. I think this is what makes the game great. Hi, I don't think you remembered, but before the game launched, I asked you if the PS5 version of the game will have improvements like VRR, 40 FPS mode, on quality mode, etc. And you said that you were looking into it, but you said no promises. So I guess it's scrapped. Hey man, great accountability. With the success of the game and with everything that's happened, a lot of our plans have been put on the back foot. We are still always pursuing technical variability to provide the best experiences, but so much is added on our to-do pile that we have to reprioritize constantly. Eventually, I hope we're able to get there. Now, this is fine. Like this, these responses are great. You know, I've said this in a couple of videos in the past, but it feels very much like a Jeff Kaplan approach, this does. So if anybody followed Overwatch back in the early days, it was very much like this, where you had the figurehead of the game basically talking to you as if he was talking to a member of staff about the game. And it feels great. It's not a PR response. It's not some stupid statement. It's not some highly polished video or whatever, where they're just saying things that they know, you know, possibly won't cause any offense, possibly won't cause any, you know, confusion. I don't know. It's just straight up answer the question like, look, we're getting slammed. The game's been massive. We have to keep reprioritizing stuff. Yeah, we will get round to it at some point. Can't tell you when, but yeah. And it's just good stuff. It is super refreshing to see this again, because it's been so long since we've had, or since I've actually come across anything like this. Is your team getting the feeling that balance patches are forcing people into a tighter meta instead of opening up loadouts? The team tries to balance for varied loadouts, but we don't always succeed in getting there. Now, this is true, but I will say this. I do think there is quite a loadout diversity at the moment. I never go into a game and see the whole team with all the same gear. You never see that. Yeah, you might see things like the Eagle airstrike fairly often. I think I pretty much take that every game. 500 kilogram bomb as well. You'll see that a lot. You might see things like the Quasar, although I think that's dropped down a bit. The ETH is probably more popular than the Quasar now. So, yeah, there are things which you will see more often. I mean, obviously, the Flamer. We're seeing a lot of the Flamethrower at the moment because it's been fixed and it is a strong weapon and it's great against the bugs and it's great against charges. Basically, great against any bug apart from a Bile Titan. You can do some stuff to it with Bile Titans, but I wouldn't recommend that. Unless the Bile Titan gets stuck and then you can sit there just damaging it. But even then, it takes a hell of a long time to kill them. But whatever. So, yeah, I think they're actually nailing this at the moment because I think it's almost like in some other games, we might talk about map meta. Rather than just picking the same characters or the same loadouts for every single level. And I think we've kind of got that with Helldivers too. We've got loadouts against bugs, we've got loadouts against automatons, and then we've got mission-specific loadouts. You might see more of the mechs on the eradication missions, for example. So I think they're actually nailing this. And or you might even see like cluster bombs on the egg destroy missions and stuff like that. So I think this is actually okay at the moment. I don't feel like there is just a meta that everyone is being forced to play. The team is doing what they can with the best of intentions. We all want the game to be the best it can. We don't just want to do what is expected. We want to go beyond that. However, I feel we've been falling short. So this is in response to a comment just asking about the general state of the game. And to be honest, yeah, like you're always going to strive for something more. Even if you were like the greatest thing ever made ever, you would still want to try and push beyond that boundary. So it's good news to see this is the way the CEO thinks. It isn't just, oh yeah, we've made a game, it's sold well, that's it, we've had enough of this. No, it's like, no, we actually want to push the boundary, we want to keep developing the game. And this is one of the things that interests me with this. Like, imagine where it will be in a couple of years' time. Like, where will this game be next year? Who knows? But it'll probably be a lot better, a lot more complex, have a lot more mission types, have a lot more, maybe, enemies, have a lot more weapons that are worth buying, you know, and all of that stuff. So, yeah, good stuff. So what about medals and the sample limit? Now, I actually would like this to be increased. However, it's not going to be increased, and Johan explains why. We don't want to up the limits because the new systems will inevitably use them. And if you have too much of a head start with new progression, it will take the fun out of it, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I mean, think of it this way. I go into this new Warbond today. I've got 250 medals. I can unlock basically everything I want from the first and second tiers. But then the third tier, well, I need to play. I need to start playing missions. I need to earn another like 100, 150 medals, whatever it is, to buy every... Well, I think it's more than that, actually. Probably like another 250 medals to unlock everything on that page that maybe I wanted, including the armor and stuff like that. So, yeah, this is a... It is an artificial barrier. It is a barrier to say, like, okay, you can't just have everything straight away. You can't save up tons of medals and then cash them in. But what I would say is maybe there could be some sort of a way of using excess medals and maybe using excess requisition to potentially buy samples or do something with samples, or there's some sort of currency conversion system they've got so you can move between them. That might be quite nice, because it does feel sometimes like when you're capped on requisition, when you're capped on medals, you're just sort of like, well, what am I actually doing with this resource? I'm not doing anything. It's almost pointless. All I care about at the moment is samples to upgrade the ship. So can't I push them across? But yeah, it looks like at the moment, no, this is a progression system in the game and it won't be changing. Is there any news about the 177 countries delisted issue? And he says, sorry, no, I'm speaking to our partners at PlayStation and Valve and pushing for it to be undone. Getting the account linking took a Herculean effort, but I won't rest in my desire to have it available everywhere. So still not back at the moment, but they are still pushing to get it re-added to those countries where it was delisted on Steam. I'd imagine this will happen fairly soon. I'll be surprised if we go through next week and it still hasn't been rectified. Although I must give a shout out to the players in Vietnam, because after this whole disaster, then Vietnam went and banned Steam. So Steam's not even available in the country. So a lot of those players, well, they can't even get back on the game, which is kind of sad. It's all about new stratagems. More gas abilities needed ASAP for, well, need the Tox 13, which I think is from Helldivers 1. And he says, agreed, it's on the list of stratagems we have to do at some point. So yeah, more toxic gas stratagems are coming, and more stratagems from Helldivers 1, which actually could be some, like, if you go and check out the wiki for Helldivers 1, look at all the stratagems, look at the weapons and stuff, you're probably going to get those added to Helldivers 2 at some point. So what about the spear lock-on? Because it's still not fixed, and he gets asked about this. You should hear my potty mouth every time the spear doesn't lock on in play sessions. It's been the bane of the dev team for such a long time now. So yeah, still isn't working, still being worked on, still will be fixed at some time, still is a really annoying weapon to use. When it works, it's incredible. When it doesn't work, it's super frustrating, which is most of the time. This is a good question. So what about the policy of mods? Because you can mod this game. Now, there are some crazy videos floating around there on the internet where people have changed charges to Thomas the Tank Engine. And so you got Thomas the Tank Engine mowing you down, which is, I mean, it's destroying my childhood because I used to watch that when I was a kid. Anyway, he gets asked about this, and the response is actually pretty cool. So he says, the official terms of service is don't do it. If you violate terms of service, this is standard since the game has so many meta components that might get screwed up, and it's hard to differentiate between a client-side mod in a game that uses peer-to-peer, so cheat systems might accidentally ban you. The unofficial Arrowhead would never take action against modders that don't cause any harm, I think he's saying there. But yeah, so basically what he's saying is don't mod the game and play it multiplayer, because you might get picked up by the cheat, the anti-cheat. Also, you might just get picked up by the anti-cheat anyway. It is quite aggressive, the anti-cheat in this game, so it might get you, even if you're just messing around locally and you've got your social set to private. It might still just ban you off the game, which wouldn't be great. But yeah, Arrowhead want mods, but mods are a bit of a difficult thing to do. What about armor shaders? Is there still any discussion on armor shaders, or at least matching the helmet color to the rest of the armor? Yes, but I can't talk about it much yet. Okay, or I can't talk too much about it yet. So I think this was on the cards. It was odds on. When you look at armor, I think the ability to just change the color of armor would be fantastic. Because you imagine like some sick black armor or like some awesome red armor or whatever. You could take an armor set, which is, you know, maybe an older armor set, and give it a new lease of life with a fresh paint job. But also you can make your stuff actually look like it belongs together as well. And there are some armor where, you know, the various bits and pieces don't quite go together that well. And it would be nice to kind of patch that up with the colors. But this is great, and I think this could open the door for more customization down the line, and I'd be all for that. I don't think anyone would be against this. I think this would be a good change. And then gets asked about melee weapons. Now, he says melee weapons, what a treat. I think I saw concepts of a ceremonial saber and bayonet somewhere. I don't know if they are in the plans, though. Now, the devs have actually spoken about melee weapons before, and I think it was Alexis, the balance dev, or it may have been a different dev. But they were saying like that literally melee weapons wouldn't work in this game. They'd have to completely change the balance of the game. The way the enemies work, just they're designed to be shot at. They're not designed to run up to and smash them in the face. Now, obviously, we all want to live that assault marine fantasy and jump in with our jump packs and just absolutely smash the crap out of enemies with chainswords. Now, that's not going to happen, apparently, not anytime soon. But what could happen is ceremonial weapons, or maybe even a bayonet. I think a bayonet would be pretty cool. If you've got like a bayonet attached to a weapon, instead of using the butt of the rifle to like smash them, you bayonet the enemy. I think that'd be cool. You could just keep the damage the same. It would just give you, again, that power fantasy of like, oh, I'm bayoneting the enemy. It's like my last stand kind of thing. A ceremonial sword, like a saber or something, whipping that out and then slashing wildly would be crazy. Obviously, it would be completely ineffective against almost every enemy apart from the smallest enemies. But this would be cool. And again, this would add to the customization element of the game. So I'd be all for this. I think it would be an awesome change. He then gets asked about capes and helmets and adding traits to them. Not to capes, but I know there's a convo on helmets. Originally, each helmet was going to have a unique heads-up display, so medics would be able to see health, recon would get enemy outlines, etc., but we unfortunately had to cut it due, well, to having to ship the game. Now, this is awesome. So this is insight into the I guess the initial or the original development plan for the game. So they wanted helmets to have stats, but not stats in the way of, oh, you just got armor resistance or like explosion resistance or you've got whatever. They actually do something functional. Maybe that's night vision, right? Maybe that's, like he says, medics being able to see health. Maybe it's like recon being able to see, like, you know, through the wall, x-ray vision, seeing the outline of enemies. That would be awesome. And if this is something they were thinking about doing, there is a chance that they're still working on this and this could be added to the game in the future. Because if they went and started added stats and this kind of special effects and special HUDs, I should say, to helmets, it would be awesome. Now, the issue would be, would they go back and retroactively add this to all of the other helmets? Would that be difficult to do? I don't know, maybe not. If you've just got a helmet type, you know, like this is a recon helmet, this is a medic helmet, this is a heavy helmet, this is a whatever helmet, yeah, then maybe they could just apply the same effect. That would be really cool. But I think this would be massive. Also, as well, there'll be no stats on the capes. And I think I'm fine with that, because the cape is the main element of your I guess, visual customization. It's what you see most of when you're playing the game, your cape. So, yeah, I'm completely fine with that, just having no stats. But the helmet, yeah, I definitely think that should. And this also opens the conversation. Like, what about gauntlets? What about boots? You know, you could go crazy if they eventually started breaking up armor in that kind of way. Also, as well, there's weapon modifications. I would like to see more information on that. Where are they going to go? There were leaks about weapon mods, but the thing is with leaks, sometimes the leaks are looking at older builds of the game, or just files that have been in the game for a long, long time. May have been worked on, may have been dropped. There was a modification system floating around for a while where you could change all elements of the weapons. Now, if that's true, that'd be fantastic, because again, you could keep customizing your weapon for whatever need you wanted. But then maybe that would make adding new weapons to the game kind of pointless, because if you've got your perfect weapon, why would you care about new weapons? It's an interesting one, isn't it? All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, the CEO has been active. Now, I find this kind of interesting because we had the whole controversy with Spitz, the community manager, being let go from Arrowhead, and Arrowhead not really having much of a community sort of, I don't know, facing or forward-facing presence at the moment. There's obviously Twinbeard and a bunch of other community managers out there that have been doing this. But I think it's quite interesting that the CEO stepped in and just started answering questions. And like I said, I do get the feeling of like Jeff Kaplan of old, where he doesn't have to ask for permission before he answers questions. He just answers the questions. He just tells you how it is. And it is so refreshing to see that. All right, guys, I'm going to leave this video at that. It's been a pretty long one. I thought it was going to be longer than whatever this turned out to be. Maybe this was like 25 minutes, 30 minutes long or whatever. But this, again, peels back the curtain, lets us see what the development studio are doing, lets us see how the CEO is thinking about the game. But a lot of stuff has been covered here. So let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. And I've been Stylosa, and if you enjoyed the video, do like the video and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, leave a comment below. It all helps the algo. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you soon.